Okay. My name is Martin Norman. I'm the program manager for IC for Industry in Bangladesh with the Bangladesh Investment Climate Fund. I've been here for about 4.5 years. Bangladesh is a great place to work, and I know that this is a hidden it's a hidden fact because a lot of people consider Dhaka to be a very difficult place to work. As a matter of fact, it's even difficult sometimes for us to get people from headquarters to come to Dhaka, but when they do, they are inevitably very, very pleasantly surprised. And I think there's a couple of reasons. Bangladesh, just in itself, is a very exciting place to work. All the work that the IFC does is valuable. Every person is valuable, and every project is valuable. But for me personally, there is a difference in working in a place like Bangladesh, where you have 165 million people, than, for example, if I were working in Bhutan, where you have the potential to impact only about a couple of 100,000. So being in the heart of so many people, Bangladesh has more than half the population of the United States. So the different initiatives, the things that you do, it has the potential to have tremendous impact in a large number of lives. This came home to me very closely one day as we were interviewing 3 women who had benefited from working in an export processing zone. This was the project that we were supporting at that particular point in time. So we talked to several women who we were trying to identify some interesting stories of people who had been impacted by the work there. And I met one woman named Shamila Begum. And she really impressed me because she'd been working at the EPZ for about 20 years. In her time there, she'd started out, she was illiterate when she started working at the EPZ. She had 2 children, Wasim and Yasim, who were 4 and 5 years old, and she'd been abandoned by her husband. So the only option open to her was to be a domestic laborer. And yet a friend of hers told her, why don't you go over to the export processing zone and see if you can find work there. She did. She found work. They saw immediately that even though she was illiterate, she had a lot of potential. She was actually very intelligent. So they put her in a literacy program. They gave her an administrative position. And when I met her 20 years later, she was doing extremely well. She had put both of her sons through master's programs at school. And I asked her, I said, couldn't this have happened outside of an economic zone? And she said, yes, possibly, but in that zone, we have a safe and secure place to work. We're a community. We have this feeling of community. And it brought home to me that the work that I was doing for the economic zones was actually valuable on a very, very basic human level. So it impressed me tremendously, and that's the type of thing that keeps me going on an everyday basis here at my work. In terms of how I get out of my job, we're dealing with numbers and programs. Sorry. In terms of how I find entertainment outside of work, well, first of all, obviously to have lunches and dinners with my clients, because that's where you really get to know them and you really find out what's going on in the projects. And of course, developing those relationships on a very human level helps tremendously in your work. But South Asia is a great place to work. And again, I know that a lot of people don't know this, but Dhaka is a fantastic place. I've had all kinds of activities. I've gotten involved in theater groups and sports and things that I couldn't have done. I actually learned how to swim here in Dhaka. But it's also a great place just to travel. Very, very often we can hop up. Nepal is only an hour away. Bhutan's an hour away. India's about a half an hour away. And every time you hop on a plane and get off, you're in a different culture with a different language, a different cuisine, a different race. It's a very, very exciting place to work. And that has been a very enriching experience for me personally, to work in this region and to be exposed to so many different ways of thinking and so many different people. Even in terms of the program, there's so much opportunity to work on different types of programs that might not be in your core competency, but are in areas that you have an interest in, that you want to work in. And management has been tremendously supportive of rotational and cross-pollination assignments, and that's been something that I think I'll take with me to the rest of my career. One of the most valuable things for me working in Bangladesh is the degree to which we are trying to implement a one IFC strategy. We are constantly and daily in contact not only with our colleagues in the other business lines, access to finance, SBA, C3P, but also with our investment colleagues. And it helps that we're under one roof, but you actually have to make the effort to cross the aisle and go over and talk to them about what you're doing. But it's really been working extremely well, and it allows us to offer to the client an integrated solution. And that's really what the client's looking for. They're not interested in the silos that we have internally. They're interested in finding a solution to their problem. So I think this is one thing. One example would be the agribusiness work that we're doing right now, to where we in IC, we identify certain investment climate issues, but also there are certain aspects to access to finance and to corporate advisory that would come into this and actually unlock investments in a certain sector or subsector in agribusiness. So this is something that we're working very hard on. We're forming teams around these issues, and I think this is going to be a model of how to work under one IFC integrated solution strategy. This is the view outside my window. This is actually the nicest office I've ever had. If you can see, it's very green, and all day long the eagles and other birds are kind of passing outside my office. The eagles are building the nest out in this tree over here, and so I see them dragging branches from the top of that tree all the way down here. It's actually a great reminder of me, also in my work, that Bangladesh is the most climate change affected country in the world. And again, all these are little things that give me motivation in my work to continue on and do the work that I'm doing, that I feel confident will be of great assistance and help to Bangladesh in the future.